Welcome. The Improv 2 Saga presents the Marquesa. A glorious blue moon floated in the night sky, joined by thousands of gem-like stars glistening in orbit. Their celestial divinity reflected in the running waterways below. Nearly 300 nobility and aristocratic patrons gathered at the large, well-lit patio. In the distance, an enormous mansion of Spanish structure stood. Every guest was physically appealing, well-dressed, and simply beautiful. They laughed, danced, and spoke for a time, before a loud tapping of glass could be heard. Loyal retainers and esteemed guests, dear friends, a man spoke in a strong Cajun accent. His hair was a stylish, organized mess. I present before you our most loving, beautiful, and generous patron, the Lady Marquesa. He informed as his outreached arm gestured in the direction of a set of stairs leading down to the vast patio. The guests applauded passionately at the sight of a young woman walking down the set of stairs. Her thick curly hair was held up in a large thornless rose, covered with black silk netting that hung down past her neck. Her dress was black and hugged her curves, but her left shoulders were bare. Red frills looped at an angle from her left hip down to her right knee. The angle exposed her leggings from the left side down. She extended her left hand out to the side. The Cajun man took it, kissed it gently, and escorted her down the remaining set of stairs to a large private dining table that overlooked the rest of the patio. The Cajun spoke again. Guests, it is my honored pleasure and sheer joy to announce to all of you. He was quiet for a moment, looking endearingly at the Marquesa as she returned the look. He turned his attention back to the audience and continued. The Lady Marquesa and I are to be wed. The crowd cheered wildly, whistling, clapping. A distant voice shouted, "You lucky swine!" The Cajun continued for a moment, stating that the wedding would take place within the next few nights, that all the guests were welcome. He seated his mistress at their private dining table, accompanied by at least a dozen others, all congratulating the couple. At this grand evening, mon chéri, I took the liberty of ordering your favorite tonight, said the Cajun, his charming smile barely hiding behind his interlocked hands, resting in front of his face. The dish arrived almost in an instant he mentioned it. With a flutter of her long eyelashes, she squinted her face flirtatiously towards him. As she rose her wine glass to her lips, taking a small sip, she suddenly paused mid-drink. Her facial expression displayed confusion. Is something the matter, mon chéri? The Cajun asked, as his attendant put a napkin up to her mouth, clearly spitting something into it. Her eyes widened in terror as she inspected the object. A fat, squirming, half-eaten maggot. In a panic, she threw the napkin onto the table. What she thought was dinner, she could now see, was a butchered human body, resting on a large, dark silver plate. Its arms and lower torso severed clean off. Its midsection was sliced open like a Christmas ham. Its eyes dilated and staring at her, coughing out droplets of blood as it gasped for air. The Marquesa's chair fell back as she shot up in horror. Mon chéri, the Cajun began as he stood up. It was then she noticed him. His eyes were animalistic and orange. His teeth were razor sharp. The others, who sitted in rows at the table, asking in gentle voices, "What's wrong?" But they too bared similar features, glowing orange eyes and bloody fangs. Their plates filled with fresh meat, thick droplets of syrupy red. "She's having another attack! Quick, her medication!" a voice shouted. The Cajun demanded that she sit back into her chair. Several of the guests surrounded the Marquesa, looks of concern. She tried to resist, but she was not strong enough to break the hold of those holding her down. Mon chéri, the Cajun said to her, his expression slowly fading from concern, becoming sinisterly wicked grin, as those who surrounded her. Drink this, he said coyly. His fingers applied pressure to her neck, causing her mouth to rest open. She continued to struggle and fight, and she watched in sheer terror as her intended poured a large glass of thick red wine into her mouth. Thank you. Good night.